This is the view from our FRN studios live at AUSA Expo in Washington, D.C. Hi, I'm Darren Burge, and I'm so excited to be here with Rick Smith, CEO of Axon, inventor of the TASER, known worldwide for his military and police applications, but also personal security. Thank you for being here on FRN.
Awesome to be here and excited with what we're doing with FRN as well.
I can't imagine how exciting this is for you, seeing this come to fruition, because recently the COVID, the lockdowns and so forth. I mean, my gosh, you weren't even able to go to your own Accelerate conference. How exciting is to see all this come to fruition?
Well, actually, Accelerate was pretty fun because I got to go in my avatar, which was...
It was cool.
I've been wanting to do that for a while, and when I got COVID, there's always a bright side, right?
I love it.
I get to try something new. But yeah, I was actually just looking over the edge of the balcony here, thinking back. I remember our first trade show. We had a 10-foot by 10-foot booth at the American Surplus Dealers Show in '94. So, like here at our second year at AUSA, this booth is, I think, 12 times larger than where we started.
You've grown. Talking about that journey of where you're at now, every journey has that first step, and your first step, if I'm right, was from a garage and creating this incredible world. Tell us about that first step.
Actually, I would say the first step for me, the most important one, was deciding not to interview for a job as I was finishing grad school. I'd had a couple friends who were shot and killed while I was living in Europe, and that got me very interested in the whole gun violence problem.
Yeah.
And being a science fiction sort of aficionado, I immediately gravitated towards this idea that, is there a tech solution? And so I started researching the industry. I had a background in neurobiology from college. I was always interested in how the human body worked. And so I started to do the business plan I did as a project for my entrepreneurship class in business school. And I fell in love with the concept. And so probably the most consequential decision I ever made was just to say, I'm not going to go interview for jobs with all the other students. I'm just going to go home. I'll move back in with my parents and just start working on this.
Oh, wow.
And so the first 30 days or so, I was living in my parents' house, going to the Arizona State Library, doing patent searches, and just going to gun stores, like just trying to figure things out, find my way around. And in that process, I discovered the original TASER inventor was a NASA scientist who lived in Tucson, Arizona.
Okay.
Which is only about 90 minutes from my house. And so I dialed 411. This is pre-Google, got his phone number. And then we hit it off. I was 23, he was 73.
Wow.
And he invited me to come down and basically try to invent the next generation of the TASER in his garage in Tucson. So that was about a month after we had started. I moved down, borrowed a trailer from my parents, lived in a trailer park, and every morning I get up and drive to Jack's house, and we'd work in his garage, building cool stuff.
That is first of all, I have to say, go Devils.
Yeah.
ASU. Going from that TASER there, because I was in law enforcement for 30 years, and during that time period, I saw the implementation of TASER, and it looks totally different than the TASER I'm looking at right now. Can you talk about where we're at with the TASER now and where you foresee it in the future?
Well, if you think it looks different now, just hold on.
Okay.
I think we're coming up, this next 10 years will be the most rapid innovation cycle in the history of TASER.
Wow.
So if I look back to the beginning, really the first big innovation was solving the effectiveness problem. Rodney King was shot with an LAPD TASER. It did not work. It was underpowered. The early versions of the TASER were not sufficiently designed from a neurobiology standpoint.
Drugs, people on drugs.
Yep, and so we went back and we basically started in the animal lab. Look, we need to, how much electricity does it take to paralyze somebody's nervous system? Nobody's ever done that kind of work. So in 96, 97, we were doing some of the lab work. That became the M26 TASER in 99. And the M26 solved the effectiveness problem, single shot device. The X26 made it smaller and more practical. And now today we've got TASER 7 where we're a two-shot system.
Yeah.
But you'll be hearing more and more about our moonshot, this idea. I'm pushing the team. We got to get out of this mindset of making every TASER a little better than the last one. How do we stretch and say, let's not just make the TASER better than today's TASER. How do we make it better than a 9mm? How do we make it more capable so that we're not just the best in the non-lethal category, how do we become the primary weapon so the cops don't have to kill people anymore? And that has been a fundamental shift, I think, in how we think about our products. Not just, hey, how do we make something that we can go, sell that's better than what we've done in the past. Make some fundamental, huge leaps forward. With a goal by 2030, we will outperform a 9mm in stopping power. I've seen it, and it's going to be dramatic as these technologies start to come to market.
It reminds me of a stat I saw that from 9/11, which really caught my attention. It talked about from September 11, 2001 to September 11, 2021, 7,057 soldiers were killed in combat. And I can't help but think that number will be greatly reduced in the next 20 years with that type of capability. How rewarding is that, knowing, just based on what I'm telling you right now as a cop, I've seen when they implemented tasers, I was in a scenario where the guy came at me with a knife and I was able to use taser. I would have had to kill him otherwise. That was thanks to you and your world. What does that mean, and how rewarding is that?
It's an incredibly fortunate feeling to get to work in this industry. And look, it's obviously much bigger than me. We have 3,000 people now working on this mission. I couldn't imagine doing anything else with my career that would have been half as rewarding as this. It's been fantastic. But there's also a sense of we can do better. For all the lives we've saved, there have been times that the taser hasn't worked. And those are the things that keep me up at night.
Wow.
To where, we need to get to the point where taser becomes the primary weapon. And the way we get there is we just need to engineer out all of the things that go wrong. Because when we get a good hit on someone, it's 100% effective, it's immediate, and they recover just fine. But we're very focused on what happens the 20 to 30% of the time where maybe the taser isn't as effective, right? Misses, clothing penetration failures. These are not huge problems in terms of being unsolvable. These are all engineering problems, and we've got teams really working aggressively on how do we design the next taser and the one after that so that each time the things that can cause a failure are engineered out of the system. Again, by 2030, I think we're going to be 99%. We'll have extended range.
That's so exciting.
It's going to be, our best days are ahead of us, not behind us.
That's so cool. That is so cool. Thinking and transitioning to your body cameras, the sensors, and keeping soldiers based on AUSA alive. When you look at where you're at with these sensors, as far as both the visual, video, and the audio, where are you with that technology in the future? I keep thinking of a time where soldiers will be able to deploy a drone over the battlefield to detect maybe some kind of chemical agent. Where are you at now, and where do you see yourself?
Well, I'd say it's really customer driven. It's not so much what sensors can we put on it, but really, all right, what are we learning from our customers? That's been our real key to success this past 20 years, is just deeply embedding with the customer and helping them understand what are the problems they need to solve. Once they define the problem, we have teams that are really good at figuring out how to solve it. Starting with body cameras and the cloud software was really solving this problem. Our customers really struggle with keeping up with tech, right? So by introducing the cloud, we were able to roll out body cameras, and our customers didn't have to go figure out how to build big IT systems. And that's now opened so many doors, because with evidence.com, we basically created the only ubiquitous cloud software platform in public safety. And now we can do records and dispatch, these new systems we're building, plus partnerships with Dedrone and DroneSense and Skydio and PhotoKite and DJI. So one of the things that's really been big in the past 2 years is not only the things we build organically, but how do we go find the best-in-class partners? Because, even as good as we are, we can't solve every problem on our own. And now we've been able to accelerate that by investing in and partnering with a bunch of other really interesting companies that are now plugging those capabilities into this Axon ecosystem that's just really accelerating in its capabilities.
I love it. It's almost like a multidisciplinary approach in law enforcement when you think of bringing all the assets to bear to solve this problem. Or
yeah, how do we find the best and brightest people in the industry, either hire them into the company, or look, there's people doing interesting things out, particularly in startup land, where like D-Drone, great example, you can see the drone sensor right back there. You know, Ideen, who leads our Axon Air program, pointed out about a year and a half ago, came into one of our strategy sessions, and he said, hey, you know, Rick and management team, the drone work we're doing is important, but there's another huge opportunity that might even be bigger, and that is all of our customers are going to need to have counter-drone capabilities. How do you detect and stop malicious drones? And we all had that moment like, you're right, you know, somebody's going to do something horrible with a drone, and suddenly it's going to be like TSA at the airports, where the preventive measures are going to need to be ubiquitous.
Wow.
So we went out and we surveyed all the companies in the world that were in this space, and we selected D-Drone for a variety of technical reasons. We felt they had the best overall technology and strategy and people, and so we invested in D-Drone, and now they're a key part of our partner. And we're doing some really interesting things with D-Drone, doing drone detection. You know, Drone Sense is doing drone piloting software and then partnering with the different hardware companies. Well, now it gets really interesting what happens when we can mash these things together. So one of the hot new areas is going to be drone as a first responder, right? You can get a drone to a scene faster than you can get a cop in a car. Well, today the state of the art is you have to have a cop standing on a rooftop because by FAA guidelines, they've got to watch the drone. Well, when the drone flies 2-3 miles away, the human on the roof can't see it anyways. So now we said, well, hey, hang on, we've got this D-Drone system that can track out to a few miles. All the drones in the airspace, that's a superhuman drone tracking mechanism. What if we combine that with Drone Sense, where we can do the remote piloting? Now we don't need to have a cop standing under an umbrella on the roof, you know, who may or may not be able to see this thing. So this is, again, it's getting sort of exciting where we're able to start bringing in partnerships, combining with our internal teams, and we're solving so many interesting problems in parallel now, I probably couldn't even list them all.
This may be a, you know, I don't know if it's the sky's the limit or if this is a flight of fancy, no pun intended, but with drones, and again, I'm putting on my police hat on, there's lots of shopping malls and so forth where there's, you know, these shootings, just the robberies, the glass breaking. Do you foresee a time, or if it's here, where drones could have not just the video and audio, but AI, where they can hear sounds, they could be part of that shopping center, but then report as like a 911 to police? Is that a flight of fancy?
No, in fact, we already have a version of that with our new partnership with Fusus.
Oh,
so
wow.
Fusus is a company that basically what they focused on is building a single application that can interface with many, many, many different camera systems so that our customers could have one, as they say, pane of glass, one application where they could see our body cameras, our fleet cameras, the shopping mall might have security cameras from their system.
Right.
The shopping mall might have its own drones. The police department might go put a drone up on scene, and to be able to fuse that all into one, you know, adding in, certainly there's areas where AI is going to be more and more important over time. I mean, this is just so exciting. If you think about police and security, today it's an officer, a human in a car or walking a beat. I think in the future, many of these most dangerous and repetitive jobs are going to be handled with drones and robotics, where we keep the human operators safer and we're able to get more coverage at a lower cost. And look, if there's somebody who's doing very dangerous things, instead of like sending in cops with body armor to have a gunfight, hey, let's send in a drone or a robot to take care of that situation. Now, you know, when we floated this idea after Uvalde, you know, there was certainly a lot of controversy. I think radical ideas, you know, kind of catch the world off guard. But over the past several months, the more I've dug in to understanding what the concerns are and understanding what the possibilities are, I don't want to be here in another 20 years where the way we deal with a madman with a gun is to send in more men with guns and have a gunfight. I think drones, robotics, cameras, tasers, there's just a tremendous amount we can do to end killing, to stop this like idea of like the way to stop violence is with more violence. I think we can break that cycle.
I think of the scenario in Dallas when the 5 police officers and the sniper at a higher elevation in a parking garage, and he was just killing people left and right, injuring people, and it took finally someone to think outside the box. Maybe they thought it was radical at the time to use a, if you will, a drone, but it was a bomb robot to go in. And it's that kind of thinking outside the box. I just love that.
Yep, and the thing I'd say there, those officers did a great job in the moment. They had to MacGyver a solution with some duct tape and some C4.
Yes, thank you.
As we look at this, it's, well, maybe we could design them something better so that they don't have to hack together a bomb on a robot, where we could send in a drone or a robot that could incapacitate that subject. And look, I think we would all want to know, is this guy part of a terrorist network? Like, what's going on? Is this the beginning of the problem or the end? In that case, I think it turned out to be a lone wolf. But there could be cases where this might be the beginning of a network of activity. And I think in almost every case, we're better off to catch people alive than to kill them. And that's part of our mission.
Absolutely. The last question I have for you, I saw the video, the one-shot video from the command van, I guess it was, and it comes out and it's going under tables, it's going through legs. It was an amazing shot, but it made me think in terms of, again, the situational awareness in terms of command staff being able to see their, going back to a military application, seeing their front line of battle and the FIBA, the forward edge of battle area, and be able to literally get close as well as high, so you can get all that strategy as well as the tactics. Are we there in terms of how close they can go to the, or is it being used in such a capacity now?
Yeah, so that we actually brought in a professional drone racer who did that. So that was just a very skilled person flying that drone. We are seeing a lot of interesting advances. Again, a lot of cases through our partnerships in the drone hardware space. I think the next 10 years, well, look, we're already seeing it in Ukraine, and the war fighting is changing, right? I mean, you look at the role that drones and robotics are playing.
Who would have thought, right?
Yeah, and if you especially consider HIMARS is basically kind of a drone. It's a rocket-propelled, high-precision instrument. We're moving out of this kind of brutalist world of, like, the Russians, like, flattening cities, to more precision. And I think the side that can win a conflict, that kills less people, causes less damage, ultimately wins the moral high ground. And we've been doing that in law enforcement, and we're going to continue to try to, with our moonshot, we're going to cut all gun-related deaths in half in the next decade between police and the public. Military is the next place. I mean, imagine, what if when Ukraine was invaded, what if the U.S. military had invested in autonomous drones, not that kill people, because I think there's big ethical problems in making, machines that can make their own decisions to kill people. But I'm talking about something different. Imagine we made container loads of these inexpensive drones, and we trained them how to recognize tanks and artillery pieces, and we programmed them to go specifically attack the parts of those equipment where there's no person. So let's go cut the gun off of every tank and artillery piece. Let's take out the tranks. Let's drop a thermite,
surgical
charge down into the engine, and let's design this in a way that doesn't kill people. What a world it would be if we could release tens of thousands of these drones and the whole Russian war machine came to a grinding halt, and all those kids were walking home to Russia, rather than, look, they don't want to be there any more than the Ukrainians. Not to get into politics, it's unfortunate the tens of thousands of people that have had to die, where if we just thought about the problem differently, we could come up with tech solutions that could solve the problem faster. And look, is the world going to escalate to a nuclear war if we've just taken out all the equipment? Like, the answer is no. That's de-escalatory. It's not escalatory. And so I'm pretty excited. I think this next 10 to 20 years, I want to capture the imagination of our military customer as well. Say, look, we're not telling you to disarm. You need lethal capabilities, but you have plenty of those. Let's focus on what is the next level where we can accomplish our mission without taking human lives, because that, anytime we can do that, we preserve the moral high ground.
I love this. You're saving lives, and we started from when we began with this interview, saving lives. I cannot thank you enough for everything you're doing, but it's spending time with and sharing with this. This has been a great, one of my best interviews. That wraps up for this interview with Rick Smith, CEO of Axon, helping keep the world safe. So check out the other interviews on FRN live at AUSA, and check out my favorite, the Badge Boys. Thank you, and stay safe.